Chances are if you're watching this video, you are probably holding Bitcoin and you're looking to earn some income on top of your Bitcoin because you're tired of it just sitting there, not doing anything. And that's often the case with a lot of us cryptocurrency investors. We have cryptocurrency assets we're just holding in our wallet. They're not being put to work and they're inflating in their supply. Remember, Bitcoin supply goes up literally every single day because more Bitcoin is being mined. So what I'm going to be showing you in today's video is how you can actually earn 30% APR on your Bitcoin. But if you want to learn how you can do this with other assets as well, make sure to drop a like and subscribe when notifications turned on. We're going to be using two tools in today's video. Number one is DeFi Llama and number two is Metrics Finance. DeFi Llama is the best general DeFi tool out there. It shows so much information about DeFi, including just overall TVL numbers, but it also helps us find different positions that we can include in our portfolio. Metrics Finance is like the DeFi Llama, but specific to concentrated liquidity pools. And Metrics Finance by far shows way more data than DeFi Llama, specifically for concentrated liquidity pools though. So we're going to be taking a look at both today. We're going to type in Bitcoin over on DeFi Llama. By doing that, we literally have 648 options, right? And we need to start to narrow things down. So the first thing I'm going to do is clear all the chains, and I'm going to select the Ethereum network. I'm going to select the BSC network, Solana network, as well as Avalanche, Arbitrum, Polygon. I'm also going to go ahead and select Base as well as Optimism. Those are kind of like my starting points. I don't think I'm going to have to select any more. That really only scratches off about 100 pools. We now have 530 to look through, but it's a start. Now, if we really wanted to, we could take a look over here at category and see what we kind of want to include on specific types of positions, but I'm not going to do that because really I'm looking for the best returns on my Bitcoin and I can evaluate different types of positions later. I can also go in here and look at no impermanent loss or single exposure. By doing this, we're going to start to see a lot of opportunities. They're not great, but they are opportunities, I guess you could say. There are literally 166 ones here. So we need to do some filters as well. We're going to look over here at TVL and we're going to do a minimum of $1 million. $1 million is a very low bar for something like Bitcoin, but we still have 78 different pools to take a look at. And we can filter by APY, but we don't want to do that quite yet, but rather just sort by APY. Now I see stuff over on FX protocol showing Bitcoin USD, the stability pool doing about 16%, or over here about 15%. We see over here on Bella protocol, which I personally haven't heard of, about 10%. Over on Pendle, we can lock in about 10%, but these aren't any crazy returns except this FX protocol one. This could be a good one to include in the portfolio. So I'll just pull it up over on DeFi Llama, do some basic due diligence and look at this APY over time. It seems pretty consistent, so we're not going to have to worry about this APY dropping to like literally 2% tomorrow or anything like that. And if we just hit this little website down here, it'll take us over to FX protocol and we'll be able to see some information about this pool. The pool is going to be right here on the earn page, BTC to USD, and this is a stability pool. So the first thing that we would need to do is see what type of stability is this providing. What does that mean, right? Most of the time, stability pool is like additional collateral. It's essentially just providing a small incentive, and in the case that something happens with collateral for a specific asset on the platform, they dive into the actual stability pool and take some capital from there. So that typically is going to be a risk. I'm not saying that that's what's happening here. That's just something that we need to be aware of. Now, by taking a look at what BTC USD is, it's basically a stablecoin that is backed by Bitcoin. So by putting Bitcoin in the stability pool, we are essentially increasing the collateral, but keep in mind we are earning Bitcoin and we are redeeming to Bitcoin. But the thing is, we have BTC to USD in this pool, which means that we essentially have stablecoin exposure over here. We are not exposed to Bitcoin rising and falling in price, and that's why we conduct due diligence. Now, since there wasn't really any other promising opportunities over here, I'm going to start to dive into Metrics Finance. If you guys do want a free trial, there is going to be a link to grab a 30-day free trial right below this video. You can only get that by watching one of the videos on my channel, and that's because typically Metrics Finance only does provide a 5-day free trial, so definitely take advantage of that 30-day trial. Anyways, I'm going to select every single exchange and every single network because I really don't care out of these exchanges and networks which one I am on. If I really wanted to, I can deselect like CELO, ZK, EVM, Anti-Pacific, but it doesn't really matter to me. We'll just keep those checked, and then from here we'll start to look at pools. We're just going to type in BTC under the must include. This is going to show us all pools that have Bitcoin in it or some derivative of Bitcoin in it. So we have Ethereum to BTC, we have Coinbase BTC to Ethereum, we have ETH to BTC down here. We have a ton of different opportunities, literally 103 different opportunities. So once again, we're going to filter by TVL for starters, just $1 million, which once again is a low bar for Bitcoin. We got 45 different pools. We can filter fees APR, and we're going to do higher than say 8%. That's going to bring us to 22 different liquidity pools. And from here, we are literally just going to sort by APR. We're going to look at the ones that have the highest APR and start to narrow down from there. The first thing that I see is just DAI paired with Bitcoin and showcasing 290% APR. When I actually dive into this, you can see there's a lot of liquidity between 50,000 and 52,000 DAI per Bitcoin. And as we go up, there is less and less liquidity. And if we take a look over the volume history, absolutely absolutely nobody is trading this. There was a lot of volume over here these few days, but for the most part, there's literally $1,000 or so in volume, yet there is $2 million in TVL. This makes no sense to deploy our capital into. These are the insights that Metrics Finance will allow us to see into concentrated liquidity pools. So we're just going to go ahead and scratch that one off the list, not even bother looking further into it. I see FBTC paired with WBTC. Now, FBTC is a derivative of Bitcoin where they have Bitcoin on the Bitcoin network, but then they bring FBTC on stuff like the Ethereum network, Arbitrum network, Optimism network, those types of networks in order to allow you to use it in DeFi. Obviously, we need to conduct due diligence on the collateral behind this and all that information. But if we do decide that this is a good play, we can start to look at potential returns and start to collapse our range. One thing that I do notice is volume is heavily inconsistent here. So once again, I'm probably not going to want to deploy into that. So after sorting through that, I've pulled up a couple different opportunities. Number one is Bitcoin to USDC. I'm going to assume a $10,000 deposit amount at the bare minimum. Or if we really want to, we can assume a $60,000 deposit amount to represent one Bitcoin, which is actually what we'll do in this situation. And the reason why is because you want to be able to scale into things. You don't want to be able to deploy $1,000 but not deploy $50,000. Make sure you scale in. Now, basically what's going to happen when we're in wrap Bitcoin to USDC, and the reason why I wouldn't throw, like, if I only had one Bitcoin, all of that one Bitcoin in this liquidity pool is because as the price moves up, you're sold into USDC. As the price moves down, your USDC is sold into Bitcoin. So this is primarily good if the market is chopping sideways and you're willing to be a little bit active. And if that's the case scenario, we can do a range of roughly $70,000 in the top, and we can assume a bottom price of roughly $55,000. And ultimately, that's going to get us roughly 56% APR, and we're going to have roughly 66% Bitcoin, which means that we're starting with a little bit more Bitcoin. Once again, this is not something that you're going to want to run in a bull market. You're going to want to run this when the market's moving sideways or when the market's bearish, so you can use the USDC to buy up more Bitcoin. I'm personally going to take a look at Ethereum to wrap Bitcoin because this is pretty correlated. It is 95% correlated, which is very, very solid. So worst case scenario, the Bitcoin's sold into Ethereum. Once again, we'll assume a $60,000 deposit. We will go and select our max price at something along the lines of 26.5, and then we will go over here and put our min price at something along the lines of 24.5. So 24.5, 26.5. We'll take a look at the volume history. This seems pretty consistent, except actually more recently, there's a little bit less volume. So if we want to be accurate, we can use a 5-day calculation range, only use the past 5 days. And then the next thing that we could do is adjust this current price to where there's a little bit more liquidity. And over here, you'll see that we're getting about a 58% APR. That's pretty solid. In worst case scenario, we're getting sold into Ethereum, something to keep in mind. The next thing I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to pull up wrap Bitcoin to Sol. Once again, assume a $60,000 deposit. And in this one, the correlation is still pretty solid at roughly 92%. Let's go ahead and bring that min price and max price up and down, just like that. That's going to get us roughly 45% wrap Bitcoin. We want to have a little bit more wrap Bitcoin. We just bring that min price up. Now we're at 53%. And then from here, we look at the volume history. This is trending a little bit downwards. So let's use 5-day calculation range. We're at a point where we have some pretty solid liquidity, and we could get a 30% APR over here. Now, once again, if you guys are enjoying this content, make sure to drop a like, subscribe, notifications turned on so you guys can see more information like this in practice. So I've formulated a portfolio over on Metrics Finance just by adding a couple positions to the build tab, and you can see we're actually doing roughly 52% APR, and that's after a weighted allocation of wrap Bitcoin to ETH having about 30K, wrap Bitcoin to Sol having about 20K, and wrap Bitcoin to USDC having about 10K. The reason why I structured it that way is because wrap Bitcoin to USDC, that's the most risk of our Bitcoin getting sold into USDC. Wrap Bitcoin to Sol not as correlated as wrap Bitcoin to ETH, and then wrap Bitcoin to ETH most correlated, which means that it's most like Bitcoin. We are going to have to take on some exposure to Sol, to ETH, to USDC, but we can inject more capital, or we could sell a portion of our Bitcoin. The point is, you should be taking these earnings, which is roughly $85 a day, and you should be taking that and buying up Bitcoin that's not in liquidity pools, or just putting Bitcoin over on OV and earning like 0.5% or something along those lines. The reason why is because when you do decide to do that, that's not going to have exposure to the divergence loss where one person buys one asset and you have to take on exposure to the other asset, basically. And the other strategy that you can do, which is something that is more tailored to the more advanced DeFi users like people in our legacy program, is you can go over on OV, collateralize your Bitcoin as wrapped Bitcoin, so just like I'm doing, and then you can borrow stable coins against your wrapped Bitcoin and your other cryptocurrency assets and use those stable coins to actually invest into these liquidity pools. Now that right there is leverage because you are borrowing stable coins and you are flipping it into volatile assets, right? But it's a strategy that you can execute. Or you can borrow the wrapped Bitcoin and you can invest that, but that's also risky. And me personally, I would be more comfortable just borrowing the stable coins and buying up the Bitcoin at a solid price. So if you guys enjoyed today's video, make sure to drop a like, subscribe, notifications turned on, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace out.